Explain a little bit how you came in the game.
Gosh, how far back you want me to go? I know we've talked, at my house for hours, but how far back do you want me to go?
I say give the people as much as they can take from this.
All right. Well, in order, because music is, it surpasses race and it surpasses so many things. So I'll quickly say this. So biologically, I'm white, but my mom that raised me since I was 5 is black. So I was raised in a black household. So from that, and I think I told you this a couple weeks ago, that I was raised around like true jazz, the Louis Armstrongs, the Billie Holidays, even getting newer, the Bob James, David Sanborn, because that's how, my that's what my mom would play. When you're cleaning house, and but my dad, and I always say this, I love my dad to death. I look just like him, but he's a goofy white dude. So he was, the Beach Boys and Steely Dan and Fleetwood Mac. So I had the best of both worlds. Well, the good thing is that my sister, my stepsister, um, listened to like hip hop, because I was born in the 70s. I'm older than I look, so then I came up, with the inception of hip hop. So I'm always, like listening in the hallway from a bedroom. My sister was 7 years older than me. So the reason I'm giving this story is because from listening to these songs, my mind didn't just listen, and kind of bebop or whatever, like, oh yeah, this is great. My mind actually broke down. I'm like, man, I hear what they're doing in the production. I want to know how they're doing that. I want to know, how they're putting this stuff in. So long story short, let's fast forward. So 16, right? I graduated high school at 16. So right before I graduated, I got a production deal with Double O Productions. I'm from the DC area. So they were actually affiliated with a top-notch label. And I learned some things, but it was a very short. My dad signed the contract and whatnot, but it was a very short-lived because the pieces didn't all align, so they went defunct. So there was my music career. Even though it kind of like started and ended, at the same time. With that said, I was always into music and always, somewhat in the scene in DC. But of course, when I graduated, I went to college, I played ball at a top-notch school, and I was only there a couple of years, and then went to the military. So I kind of always, my brain was always working and going, but never really understood the intricacies of music, as far as being in the studio for a long time. So anyways, I get out the military, and I go to the Barnes and Noble here in Raleigh, North Carolina at Crabtree. And from, I think it was like about 3.5 hours, I pulled the book off the shelf and read it. And it was How to Start and Run Your Own Record Label by Deanna Schwartz. So I think I showed you that book. And so from picking that book up, and I didn't buy it, not because I was being cheap. I wanted to make sure it was actually real, that I could do stuff. So 3.5 hours, put the book back on the shelf, went downtown Raleigh, opened my first record label legally. And from there, it was School of Hard Knocks. I was, I'm pretty high strung, pretty high energy, but, when I don't know things, I'm very honest about it, so I try to kind of sync up with people who are either doing it on a small level or, try to sync up with studios, and, always kind of kept getting brushed off. So I got pissed off and just was like, you know what, because I'm genuine. I never, say, oh, I can do this and do that, and I can't do it, because that's how you lose credibility. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, so I just kind of learned things, and you've seen my music book collection. And just read and read and read. And then I was still trying to sync up, the frustration I had. I was doing everything on my own, which is not entirely a bad thing, but when there's so many moving pieces, it's a lot. So I end up syncing up with a gentleman. I won't say his name. I don't want to name drop, but I synced up with a gentleman. He was starting a company. He was a top intern at one of the biggest studios here in Raleigh. And I bugged the nonsense out of him for months, and he was doing that thing where he was trying to brush me off. Finally he was like, dude, this dude ain't quitting. So he brought me on board, and he asked me, do you know anything about music publishing? And I was like, I have no idea. I have no idea about music publishing. I just came clean. He was like, look, buy this book, Make Music, Make Money by Eric Beale. And that's been my Bible, you know. So I read that, and of course, music publishing is music law, and music law is derived from Latin. So it's I'm reading this book, and I'm just like lost. I mean, I got some of it, very little, but I'm like, oh, you know, this is just ridiculous. So, anyways, I just kept, you know, kept pushing, and then I ended up cold calling labels. Like, I'm talking the major labels. Well, ended up befriending a good person. She's out of Atlanta, and she was the right hand to the president of Def Jam. So I built that rapport, and pretty much my job was the company that I was with was called TIC, the Industry Connect, and initially I was just like kind of brought on and whatever, but the music publishing side, you know, was really needing to be pushed forward. So I represented the catalog for TIC. So the owner and the other gentleman, I'm trying not to name drop. So but they did all the production, all the songwriting, everything was done in house, and I'm talking it's some phenomenal stuff. So I took the catalog, and I think they were testing me, the two of them from TIC, and they were like, look, you know, take these. I think it was like 30 or 40 songs, and they were like, listen to them. Tell us who you think, like from a major label perspective, who do you think, you know, should go on these tracks? So of course I'm listening to them like Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, you know, this person, that person. So I went through them, and I even did, like, I didn't just like for one song, it could be like a per se like a Lil Wayne and like somebody else, you know. I didn't just pigeonhole us. So I presented it to them, to the two of them from TIC, and they were like, yo, like he's dead on. I mean, as far as like how, you know, the I know the cadence of all the different, you know, rappers, and then of course I know how singers sing and all that. So they were like, yeah, we feel comfortable with him representing this. So anyways, long story short, I ended up from cold calling and using this book, Make Music, Make Money. I ended up syncing up with Def Jam, Universal, and Sony. So